I'm Reggie.
And I'm Brian.
And this is R&B Talks.
R&B Talks.
Greetings. Salutations.
Hello, hello.
Hi, Brian.
Hello, Reggie. It's been a week, man.
We have like the winter apocalypse here.
I know. Altogether, I think in Greenville, they said just shy of 12 inches total came down.
Yep.
So, blizzard.
Well, that first part, we had like snow, ice.
Yep.
And that was so annoying to shovel. I just gave up.
Did you get out the tractor?
I did. And the tractor so my bucket on the tractor is wicked messed up. It's just all bent out of shape and everything.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to do the best I can with that thing, but I ended up gouging out like a part of the ground next to my driveway at the front, like just took a big old and it would not drag it. It just wouldn't do it. So it's like I was so mad at my tractor and my equipment. I was really mad.
Don't be angry at your tractor, Reggie.
Here's the thing. I had bought this it's a little attachment, it goes on the bucket, that has like a really, really hard, I don't know if it's I guess it's a plastic, but it's made for scraping your driveway. Like you can push or pull in this thing and it won't damage your driveway or whatever. It goes on the front of the bucket. It's beautiful, right? I used it once before. So, but since my bucket's been all bent out of shape, you can't put it on there because it's a straight piece of metal. It can't go on a crooked smiley face looking stupid bucket. And so like I was so mad that I couldn't use.
You're full of anger.
I was just mad. Well, because it's like you have this equipment for a certain purpose and it comes to the time to use that for that purpose and like you can't. It's like rah!
I get you, man.
And my tractor's four-wheel drive isn't working. Apparently what had happened last time was like somehow the drain plug had just come out of the axle of the case in the front. All the oil, there was no oil in it. It was completely dry when the dealer looked at it and they said, "Oh yeah, we can rebuild it, but it's going to be like $5,000."
Nice.
And I'm like, you know what? I don't need it that bad.
No.
But it comes to find out that I needed it because it's slipping everywhere on like the very front of my driveway has a little incline and like trying to back drag the stuff. Tires are just spinning. So I'm just.
Well, the Volkswagen got in pretty good.
The Jeep goes around it. Yeah. Tractor will go around it just fine. It's just like if you try to drag the snow.
Oh, gotcha. All right. The weight of the snow probably doesn't help either.
Well, you're pulling on it and you're pulling up the hill. Usually that wouldn't be a big deal for the tractor of mine, but apparently without the four-wheel drive.
Me and the fam shoveled it by hand.
Well,
it's like 200 plus foot of driveway shoveled by hand.
That's the way to do it.
We literally had to go through and break up the layer of ice on top, scoop the ice off, and then shovel the snow. It was ridiculous. I've never been so tired but they say if you shovel snow without stopping for 60 minutes, you can burn 1,200 calories in 60 minutes, which is double the amount of calories you would burn during a HIIT workout. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, anything like that, splitting wood, all that stuff, anything that's like full body.
Yeah.
Dude.
Heaving and a hoeing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, shoveling rock.
Yeah.
Digging a ditch.
I remember doing that one time, shoveling rock. That's nutty. Well.
Shoulders still, or the biceps still messed up. I did have to try to help somebody. This is why I know my biceps still messed up, by the way. So we went out to the store. I forgot when it was, but it was, all the roads were sort of kind of cleared off, sort of. But we have a Jeep, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And there was a guy stuck in his driveway down here, one of my neighbors, and so I get out. I said, "Okay, hold on, let me go try to help." So I'm pushing on this car and all stuff, and oh yeah, man, it was something else, and clearly it wasn't gonna. But I mean, and
you gave it the old heave ho.
Yeah, I mean, me and this other dude, I was like, I got back in the car and I'm like, my arm does not feel good.
Well, probably not a great idea, Reg.
No, but you're trying to help somebody, man. I mean, it's like, you know.
Well, you got to be like me. My shoulder's been shot for years, and I'm just not going to stop. Like my right shoulder hasn't worked right probably in 7, 8, 9 years. I'm not going to stop.
No, I mean, and you don't want to stop either, but like, it just irks me, man, that, you know.
Well, physically it sucks because you're limited in everything you do. And I don't like being limited on any level. I like being fully capable of accomplishing the things that I want to accomplish.
But why, what on, I just don't understand our creators thinking like, you know what, your body can heal, but for some of your joints, we're going to make it where it's like if you hurt them even a little, it'll take you like 3 years to get over it.
Be honest with you. I think that has more to do with us than the creator, our stubbornness and unwillingness to rest. I mean, even God rested, dude.
Dude, I do rest. I was resting. I'm just so bent out of shape that it's like, oh, it's like a 6 to 8 week, recovery time before you can.
But but see, here's the thing they don't tell you about that. And I had to become an expert in this to explain this to people when I was working at the gym. 6 to 8 weeks recovery doesn't mean simply sit still. It means you have to have the perfect macro and micronutrient intake in your diet for proper healing. You have to have, the right equipment. You have to have recovery stimulation. Like they say, rest and recovery, but they never explain exactly what that means. They never get into the definition of because I mean, you look at these guys, these athletes that hurt themselves and they're back out there in 8 weeks. Well, they're back out there in 8 weeks because they're eating the perfect diet and they have a physical therapist and they're doing all these things that are helping with recovery. They're doing ice isolation and heat isolation and all these things that are actually part of recovery, things that you and I don't have access to. So the dietary stuff we could do it if we wanted, but the physical therapists and the professional trainers and all the things, yeah, you and I aren't going to recover like an athlete does because we don't have access to what athletes have access to.
It's crap. Dude.
It is crap. It's total crap. This has been a crap week. Like for worldwide wise, this has been a crap week, man.
Well, not all crap. Look, it's not all been crap. Like now, I will say the fires in California are holy cow. You seen the videos of those things, dude?
Oh yeah,
wind whipping through there,
dude. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. And my wife and I were actually discussing this last night, and I have lost everything in a fire, and it is heartbreaking, and you have to start your entire life over again. And I feel sorry for everyone who lost something in those fires. But if you aren't clear enough now that you need to make some changes in how your state is run, as far as I'm concerned, Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass should be brought up on charges. They cut fire department funding. They allowed these eco nuts to come in and, well, you can't remove the underbrush because this rabbit will die. No. That is why that fire burns the way it burns. And this has been worse. I believe they said acreage wise, this is the worst one in decades. Your state does not care about you. Your state does not care that you've lost everything. Your state does not care that businesses have been burnt down and there's been more loss. And honestly, this goes, and another thing that's really bothered me is a lot of the celebrity outrage that I've heard about this. Shut up. You weren't outraged when they were burning down businesses in Portland. You weren't outraged when Baltimore was on fire. You weren't outraged when Seattle had people taking over blocks and turning them into internment camps. You don't get to be outraged now. Well, right? You don't get that.
Before I respond, okay, I gotta say something that's very pertinent to like me and you and our belief system and everything.
Okay.
It drives me insane when I see this you mock God and here's what happens thing.
Yeah.
No. That's not. Yes, the God that we know and that has been around and in the scriptures and stuff will do judgment things like he's done it before, like you've Sodom and Gomorrah and all this kind of stuff. But we're in the new covenant. This is a different thing than we are talking about in the Old Testament times. It's not like God's going around and saying, "Oh, you've done this or whatever, so you're under judgment now. Here's rain fire on you," right? Like let's this it. Yeah. It's a wildfire.
Yeah.
This is not, I mean, sure, God's in control of everything and he's still sovereign. I'm not saying that, but this is an act of nature and not like it's part of his plan. I'm not going to disagree with that, but going around saying this is Southern California's
apocalypse
because of,
no.
And this happens all the time, dude, and it's sensationalizing something. Look, it's a wildfire. It's horrible. Yeah. I don't care who you are. I don't care who the people are. It's horrible. It's not it's saying it's retribution for here and it's judgment. I'm really anti that, man.
I am too.
It drives me insane.
But will I say that this is a result of
poor management,
poor management and horrible choices? Yes.
Yes.
If you had government that was worried about safety and not inclusion, I think this probably would have been put out pretty quickly. But because there was so much left of the underbrush and all those things, and
there's so many things though, man. The way they've handled the water.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for them to go plug into fire hydrants and there be no water to the fire hydrants.
Yeah,
because of budget cuts. And then here's what really makes me mad. And here's another kind of example of propaganda and baloney. MSNBC, CNN, all these people rolled out and were like, there were no budget cuts. They literally produced the budget cuts that Karen Bass instituted to the fire departments in Los Angeles. Sorry, you're wrong. They're there. She cut fire department budgets. The co-captain of the fire department apparently, or the captain of the fire department, was more concerned with DEI than she was making sure that the firefighters were qualified. This is just a, and I'm not like picking on anybody. This is just a domino fall of poor judgment. Like this, just from top to bottom.
But the thing is, like, why is anybody surprised? This is what I'm saying. You should not be surprised of this outcome.
No.
When you don't do things the way, like you don't hire the person that's best for the position, you hire them because of XYZ.
Yeah.
You put government policies in place not because it's the right thing to do, but because it's an agenda that someone is pushing. When you do all these things, what do you expect is going to? I mean, no, this is exactly what happens.
Well, this is a massive example of what you and I have been talking about for a long time. When you make laws to benefit the 1%, the 99% suffer. So all those people in California that lost everything, you're victims of people who cared more about, the 5% than the 95%, right? Like you, and all because you wanted exclusivity and equality. And guess what? Did equality keep your house from burning down?
Yeah.
Did equality keep you from losing everything? Look, I get it. There's a time and a place in life where we need to feel sorry and show sympathy and empathy for people, whatever their plight might be. I'm the first one to tell you that I've been in cases where, although I've been standing on the other side of someone's opinion or who they are, I've tried to be empathetic and sympathetic and understand that person, not necessarily what they're doing. But when you begin to pass laws that literally show 100% clarity of danger to include a small percentage of people, you have told the masses that you just don't care about them.
The thing that, so, I mean, I've been reading the one of the books or series I wanted to get back to from school was the Stormlight Archives by Sanderson, Brandon Sanderson, I think. And in the first, because I'm trying not to spoil it, but there's a light eyes and a dark eyes people, right? And they're both human. They just have one particular part has light colored eyes, one has dark eyes. The dark eyes are seen as less than and all this kind of stuff, right? And in part of the first book is like it includes these they're a bunch of these I guess high princes they call them, and they have armies that go out and try to get these things from a different. Okay, let me just say that they put these dark eyes people who are like, former slaves or whatever to carry these bridges and put the bridges over these chasm stuff, right?
Yeah.
And they don't allow them to have armor or anything, even though these other people will try to attack them so that they can't cross the bridge, so the soldiers can't cross the bridge to do that, right? So they use these dark guys people as fodder, pretty much, right? With these bridges, and I'm like, that's kind of how this DEI woke stuff really. They don't really. It's like the fodder is some of the people that can't manage what some of the top elites do.
Yeah,
and it's a definite, to me. You're aligning things up because you're really looking at people by classes and by things, and so what Newsom doesn't care about the fodder.
He doesn't,
and he has people who he thinks are fodder.
Well,
I mean, that's just the way that's how all this works out, dude.
Well, I think what bothers me, let's just look at the facts. Karen Bass knew that there was national weather warnings that wildfire conditions were high, and she chose to leave the country and then came back halfway through while everything was burning, right? Like she didn't show any priority to her city or to the people that were in it, the 75,000 displaced homeless that she produced a whopping 135 vouchers for to help them. We're at a point where it's almost cartoonish in a sense, the judgment calls that are made. But look, I just want to be crystal clear about this. Those people lost everything, and I in no way think that anyone was deserving of that. Or now, that being said, you need to stop and look at why. You need to stop and look at who's at fault, and not. This is not a time to lie forward a sympathetic eye to your government. Your government put you in this position. Your state government put you in this position. It's time to. I'm not advocating riots, but it's time to start demanding that your government do what it's supposed to do, and that's protect you.
Well, here's a good example of what happens. Justin Trudeau.
Oh, dude.
Right? So California, right, has this whole thing where, and look, it completely reminds me of the whole Bishop thing that we saw.
Yeah.
Of this, removing all this stuff and everything
Moving
else.
The crosses for
the
Muslim.
FAFO, bitches.
Right.
But I mean, but it does. It's like, Trudeau resigned, as we all know that they're doing March is when they're doing like this. I forgot what they call it, caucus or something.
Yeah.
Right. And, which look, everybody who's got an ounce of brain power understands where Trudeau is and what he's done and what shape Canada's in right now.
That he has wreaked in that country.
We know this. I mean, come on. And but there's a lot of questions I have. Like, it reminds me a lot of like the Biden stepping away not to run. Like, you don't know why, really. Like, they're not going to tell you this. And I've tried to look, right, and for the Trudeau thing, like saying, where can I find some legitimate sources that say, and it's everybody's just guessing.
I'll be honest with you. Here's what I think's happening. The Trump indictment wasn't even an indictment. There was no sentencing. It was, you should have done it. And then they let him go home. Dude, I'm sorry.
What they call it? On something.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I got it. But
it's basically just nothing.
So they knew Trump wasn't going to be indicted. They knew he wasn't going to do it to serve any time. They knew he's the sitting president. Trudeau and Biden were in each other's pocket. I mean, it was obvious by the relationship that they had. Trudeau's lost all footing in the United States now. He has nobody to back him. I think as funny as it was when Trump made the statement at Mar-a-Lago, I like you, I'll make you the mayor or the governor of Canada. Like, I think Trudeau knew at that point he had no power. And with guys like Pierre Pauli, who is, I like him. I think he's a little bit crazy at times, but he's
Trump, I mean, come
But
on, man. Trump's
Pierre
nuts.
Paul is kind of the Canadian Trump, right? So now he's got pressure from the backside. Trump has already put Mexico in its place. Mexico is shaking in their boots, trying to figure out what they're going to do the moment Trump gets put in. I think Trudeau just knew it was over. I just think he knew that at this point he had no power. He had no ability. Like he had no allies now. His allies to the south weren't his allies anymore. So he didn't have that overarching ability to control the situation.
Yeah.
And he knows that if Trump imposes tariffs of 25%, that it'll be the end of his country because they're already broke. And now Trump's like, either you lock down your border or I'm going to charge 25% tariff on everything you send across. He wanted out before in enough time to have plausible deniability that that wasn't his fault. Like he's trying in some weird, just ridiculously, pardon my French, dumbass way of preserving his legacy.
I know, but I just, it's like you really want to be a fly on the wall for that Trudeau Trump meeting because you didn't get it. Sure. I mean, like we get just this barely little touch of what they really talked about. And you wonder if some of it was like, hey, you better step down or
I'm going to crush you
or blah, blah, blah. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's stupid to sit here and postulate some kind of stuff because we don't know. And it's just like everybody else postulating everything about Trudeau resigning. But we do know that Canada is in a bad spot financially, economically, and several number of things. And I guess what I'm saying is for us, we mortals of the United States. I mean, it really doesn't impact us that great, but it is something just to be. It's entertaining, I suppose.
Well, I do honestly believe that in some ways it does impact us because
a little bit.
There are a lot of ill individuals coming across the borders of Canada, just like they're coming across the Mexico border.
I agree. Yep.
And let's be honest. Since the day Trump, the election was, since Kamala gave her concession speech, he's been taking shots across the bow at about anybody he can to let them know what's coming. I mean, he's going to change it to the Gulf of America, bro.
Well,
he's going to, which I fully support, right? Like it's
America's,
for it. It's America's property. That's why they call it the U.S. Virgin Islands. They don't call it the Virgin Islands. It's the U.S. Virgin Islands. That's why they're going to call it. He's just done. And I think what you're seeing now is a guy who's right. Let's close ranks. We've taken enough of a beating. And I think that's part of Trudeau. I think you're going to see, and I've read a few small articles about this, but nothing big yet. But I think you're going to see probably the president of Mexico might have to step away because of some of the ties that he has and some of the things that are going on.
Yeah,
I think that Trump is shoring up our borders to protect us and to keep things out. I honestly am completely just dumbfounded that anybody's surprised by anything that's going on right now. Like what we've lived in a cartoon for the last 5 years, right? Like it's not like this is new.
No,
we've lived in Ren and Stimpy for the last 5 years. It's not a surprise half the stuff that's going on.
Well, and I think that they've tried to stir up more of the same, like more pandemic level nonsense.
And they failed.
Yeah, because we're done. Like, I mean,
yeah.
They really played their hand and we're done with that. I mean, it's not gonna, anything like that ain't going to happen again.
Very true.
I mean, and the thing is, I think, and you have like the Epstein list and the P. Diddy part list. You know what's funny? Here's another thing that about all of this stuff when it comes to like what we know, what we don't know. All this crap about the New Orleans guy, right?
Yeah.
It's like every day I'm bombarded with all kinds of new info.
Absolutely.
What do we have about the guy who tried to shoot Trump?
Nothing. But we will have it because when he gets in, he's going to release all the classified. I think he will.
Look.
I think he's. I
don't know.
Make no mistake. I'm going to say this in the most tender way I can. And even all those people that were opposing his appointments are all starting to close ranks around him, right? They've all kind of changed their tune. I think you're going to see a level of retribution against the people who have tried to hurt him and told lies about him and blamed him for things. I think, and it's not going to come from him. It's going to be from the American people. Trump's just going to give the American people the ammunition they need. And I think you're going to see a lot of things come to the surface. I think you're going to hear and understand now a lot of things that we didn't understand. I think he's ready to open Pandora's box. I really think he is. I know
that like it does seem very much like he hasn't added this whole administration is going to be one of, we don't give a flying rip about anything.
Yeah, for sure.
We're going to just do absolutely everything we want to do.
It's good for America. We do it. If it's not, you don't have a shot.
And I hope that's the way it is, because there's a lot of things, dude. But I still say it's you got 4 years, man. That is so not a long time to make the changes they're talking about.
But that's, I think, why he's positioning the people that he's positioning. And I think that's why he's forcing out the people that he's forcing out. Because he knows he only has 4 years. So in order for him to move legislation at a higher rate of speed, he's got to have a clear road. He's talking about moving some things through at light speed. And I think you're going to see a world friggin' record of executive orders come out on his first day. I think he's going to go in and try to wipe the history of Joe Biden completely off the books.
I think he's got it all written already.
Yeah, I think he's just I don't think that's a question. Signatures, and he needs to.
And the legislation being introduced at a record pace and all this kind of stuff. I don't doubt that.
And I honestly, and truthfully, I don't think, other than, I think that some of he's going to get a lot of fight because he's going to get to institute another Supreme Court justice before he goes. I think that's the only fight you're really going to see the Democrats try to win. I don't think they're going to fight against the placement of Tulsi and the placement of RFK. I don't think they have a leg to stand on. But I think the only fight that Trump's really going to have to go to war over is when one or two maybe of the Supreme Court justices resign. They're going to war against him to keep him from putting in conservative judges.
But, okay, my concern about all this, and by the way, we're talking about all this because Congress did certify the election. By the way, that was actually pretty simple.
Yeah,
and didn't without really too much fanfare. And Kamala Harris,
although I did relish having to watch Kamala Harris do it.
I know
the disappointment and sadness in her eyes was almost palpable and tasted like filet mignon. But anyway.
I don't know. I almost think that she's relieved, to be honest.
She's talking all that garbage about running again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, here's the thing.
Please run again.
Please do. So you're a moron. Let's do that.
Please do the thing that we don't want you to do.
We will not be unburdened by our past of you.
Yeah.
Let me say that.
I will not be unburdened by what has been and burdened by what has not been maybe.
Marxist crap. Anyway, what I'm worried about though is the military industrial complex. That's I'll be honest with you, because there's a lot of people that Trump knows and has done business with and is very close to in that.
True.
Very
true.
And I really don't want to be this warmongering nonsense stuff.
I don't think he'll go to war though. I think Putin's already butt kissing. Like he's already smooching up because he knows that we're not going to keep sending billions of dollars to the Ukraine. That's over the moment Trump goes into office. That's done. I think China is panicking because China's economy literally teeters on how much we buy from them. And if Trump, he's even said, if I have to cut China off completely, which I think might be healthy for China for a good 6 months to a year to sit in the crux and just suffer a little while like they've made other people suffer. I think he's calling in his markers, man. I really do. I think what you're seeing is Trump is calling in the markers. I think he's got political leverage in some places. I think he's got, financial leverage in some places, and he's going to call it in.
The only thing I'm a little concerned, well, not concerned about, but that of particular interest in my field is the H-1B discussions about the visas and stuff that they're giving out.
For sure.
And I mean, I guess I'm not opposed or against anything with H-1B visas and stuff.
No.
I mean, because it's like you're hiring somebody for a particular expertise and they're coming in to add a skill set or whatever. And then the debate is like, well, we have it.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that through?
Well, you see it in countries like Norway. Like Norway has the same type of thing.
Yeah.
You can get a visa to come in and work in Norway, but you can't become a citizen unless you go through their process, which is extraordinarily long, by the way. It's not easy to become a citizen of Norway. They're very selective about who they'll allow.
Well,
in.
any Scandinavian country.
So I think I don't have a problem with it because you see it. It already works in other countries. It's functional as long as it's done under the purview of the government in the right way.
But see, the thing that is important in technology terms, though, you have a lot. I mean, it's unreal how many of these things are going on in the technology sector or whatever, because you have a huge portion that is people that are working here and then shipping their money back. Mm-hmm. And technology is huge especially in places like India and Pakistan and, Taiwan and stuff like that. There's a bunch of different Asian countries and stuff that have a lot of their income that's rooting in America, that the money's coming and sent over. Yeah. And so how do you get that to be less? Well, that's what they're saying is like, well, we got to limit these H-1B visas because we're taking away from the economy here.
Or, I do kind of like, who said it? I listened to him the other day. I believe it was RFK. I could be wrong, but I believe it was RFK who said, give away the H-1B visa, but there's a penalty. If you are going to send your money back to another country and take away from the U.S. economy, you're going to pay a penalty. You're going to pay like a 10, 15, 20% penalty on doing that because you're hurting us and trying to hold up another country on money you're earning through us. Yeah. So
that's what I mean. I'm not like adamant. That's what I mean. I know there's a lot of discussion about it, and especially in like I said, in IT, it's huge. And, it's interesting, because at the same token, like from a business perspective, you're trying to keep your costs low and but your skill set high, and you're trying to, bolster your stock prices if you're a publicly traded company, all this kind of, you're making moves like that in order to do things. But I think this kind of goes back to a discussion of the disparaging of income between C-level people and low-level people, and how that's like exponentially increased. Because when you have like C-level people that have like $30 million bonuses, and then your other staff doesn't get a bonus, right? Yeah. Then I think you have that's a culture that needs to change a little bit.
Well, but I also think you got to be careful because freedom. It's the basics of freedom, right? Like when you have freedom, you're going to have inequality, right? Like in the sense of you're going to have people when you have freedom. And someone starts a company, they can structure the company within the ranges of what they want to structure it in.
No issues with that.
You know what I'm saying?
No issues.
Like for me, it's if you look at countries that have said, oh, well, we're going to do it this way or we're going to do it this way, that's where it usually falls apart because you're forcing people in, you're wedging people in. So unfortunately, and unfortunately at the same time, I think the inequality of income, it's just part of being a capital-driven society, right? Like, I don't know that we're free market society.
No, and let me clarify. I'm not saying that there needs to be regulations or anything. Yeah. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the culture needs to shift a bit about how corporate America handles their tier systems.
Yeah,
not necessarily that. I don't care that the C-level people make millions of dollars and all this stuff. I really don't. That's not, no, I don't. I mean, if you make decisions and each one of those decisions affect 30,000 freaking people, you need to be compensated for that.
There's a level of income that should be standard.
Yeah, I'm not saying that at all. I don't care. I don't care how much they make. Let me qualify that. I do not care how much a C person or a board of the directors or whatever. Don't care. What I do care about though is if you have financial stuff that you take advantage of, and then your people though underneath you, not all of them, there's like people who don't get raises and all this stuff, even though it's kind of like it's the same thing I look at Congress too right now, that, they vote for a raise, they vote for bonuses and all this stuff, yet they're taken away from Social Security and they're doing all this other stuff. No, this is the culture I'm talking about. It just needs to shift a bit to where people do need to pay more attention about what's going on in their companies. And this is part of it.
Yeah.
The H-1B stuff is like, okay, look, I can, okay, I must clarify this. I love Indian people. I'm not picking, I just know I know I deal with them a lot, and brilliant. I'm not saying anything against them, but like, let's say there's an Indian folk over here. He's got this certification, this. I need him for, I can hire him for this project, and it's going to cost me, 5 times less than this U.S. guy, but he's going to take all the money and he's going to send it back over to India to his family.
Yeah.
That doesn't help really. That'll help my bottom line, but that's not going to help my country either. That's going to help my community or whatever. So I think we have to really kind of come back to like adjusting our priorities and stuff about who we hire, what we're paying our people, and what part of that really needs to be profit in order to really sustain and make sure we grow in our business. And you don't need, $1 billion of growth every year. I mean, come on, that's crazy. I don't know. That's a whole discussion, I guess. I'm just saying it's important. And without getting into the weeds here, the H-1B stuff I'm not against it, but there's a lot of it that I'm not for. And there's a lot of reasons why that it can go both ways, I guess.
Well, just like a lot of stuff that's in our current government, it just needs to be overhauled. It needs to be relooked at and adjusted.
But I don't want any more See,
well, not regulations, but
I don't want regulation.
It's like, for me, it's like regulating the temperature, right? Like if you're hot, you turn the air conditioning down. If you're cold, you turn the heat up. Like you need to look at the parts of it that are broken, take them out and replace them with parts that are fixing it. We're not regulating anything. We're just making the engine run, right?
And I do think we need to encourage more of these companies to do like what they're saying is stop creating these facilities overseas.
Yes.
Everywhere else but America. Bring it back. Bring the workforce back to America. I mean, I think that's important. But how do you do that on a global economy?
But I hate to say this, but the reason it's so expensive for U.S. companies to start is because of the U.S. government. The government has rewarded, historically, people not choosing America, like companies choosing to manufacture overseas. So instead of, and all these regulations have been put in place to penalize American businesses, cost-wise, manufacture-wise, employment-wise, tax-wise. We literally created this problem ourselves.
Yeah.
Like this wasn't it's cheaper for us to go over there and America's going to fight for it. It's, hey, we're going to let all these businesses go to China. China's going to kick all this money back to us under the table, and we're going to call this a good move. It is in no way a good move. Just like building the largest automotive facility in the world on the Mexico border. That's not a good idea. That's a way to escape American taxes is what it is. It's a way for American businesses to escape American taxes. I think that the beginning of that is probably more than the businesses themselves. I tried to read and understand the U.S. tax code.
Oh God.
What a disaster. According to the U.S. tax code, taxes are voluntary, not expected.
Oh yeah. But so don't tell an IRS agent
but they'll penalize you or put you in jail because you don't volunteer the amount that they see fit, right? Like I don't like, and what's funny is I've watched several videos of people who work for the federal government, especially the IRS, attempt to justify the fact that the United States tax code says that paid taxes is voluntary, but it's required. And then one of my funniest was the lady goes, well, we require it because it's good for you. If you want to remain voluntary, we need to just continue to require it. Well, requiring something is not remaining voluntary.
Yeah.
Obviously you're just stupid. But I mean, I would encourage people be aware, right? Like, you know, be aware of what's required of you. Like, you'd be amazed how many people out will say, I pay taxes, but have absolutely no idea what the percentage is, you know, what's going to state, what's going to federal. I'm paying attention to that all the time when I open that check stub. I'm comparing to make sure that nobody's playing games and sliding around, because it wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah.
So
on our other topics here, I mean, we did speak briefly about the Billy Carson Wes Huff kind of discussion. The Joe Rogan episode did get released.
Yes, was very good. Although
that was cool.
Not the level of intellectual podcast I was hoping for, but still good.
Yeah, I mean, it was still a really good conversation.
Yeah,
it was interesting for Joe to keep bringing up other crap that was like not pertaining to Wes's expertise. That was kind of funny, and I think part of that was on purpose. But you know, that's
well,
here
again,
nor there.
I told you I went back and watched the whole conversation. I won't call it a debate because it wasn't a debate between Billy and Wes.
No.
And look, I don't dislike Billy Carson. I certainly think he's misled, but he got pistol whipped in that conversation bad. It was embarrassing for him to be involved in that conversation. And I get it, man. You weren't prepared, but instead of just saying, you know, dude, I wasn't prepared, let's do this again. All of the ridiculous behavior that followed showed me a guy who may have some mental health issues, because he is the live stream he did was awful. Just
awful.
And
look,
then
this is an example.
The cease and desist, and
oh
my gosh,
this is an example of what not to do. Okay, if you look, everybody's going to have if you're in this I guess this world where you're having discussions and disagreements with people that are all intelligent and they're all experts in their fields and all this stuff. You're not going to win every discussion or argument or whatever. It's just not going to happen. And one of the key things you don't do in the modern era is try to suppress something. Yeah. As soon as you try to suppress something,
everybody wants it.
Oh man, it blows up even more. And I think that's what you've seen with this, right? And especially with all the negative like stuff that you really cripple your own
your ability to defend yourself.
Well, your own professionalism, your own standing, everything else. You wreck it because you're acting like a spoiled child at this point, right?
Well, I think this is very indicative of the difference between intelligence and wisdom. I think Billy Carson's very intelligent. I think that Will he has wisdom. Like, he's studied and gained wisdom and knowledge, and he brought that to that conversation. He brought that wisdom and that knowledge and that intelligence all together. And, you know, I can't tell you how many conversations I've been in with very intellectual people, but because they lack wisdom or applicatory knowledge, it's just a dead conversation, because the moment it reaches a certain point, it just falls off a cliff and you can't really go any further. And I think that's where Billy was. He took it to as far as his intelligence would allow it to go, but without the wisdom or the knowledge, it just kind of turned into this.
Yeah. I just feel like, you know, this whole thing is just silly. But when Wes got on Joe Rogan, and I mean, obviously Joe was very awestruck by some of the stuff that Wes was bringing up and clarifying,
and rightfully so.
Because
the dude brought his A game.
Yeah, I mean, Joe's had all kinds of ancient people that talked about, you know, this and that, and I think having a guy like Wes, who, for most of us who've been in academia for a minute with theology stuff, we know that there's a vast amount of people who have credible scholarship around, you know, the ancient writings of this and that. And there's reasons why it's not like a guess to say like Christianity is true. There's so much historicity from there. It's like, it's not, you know, comparatively, if you're doing it the same way you're doing everything else, there's so much there with the biblical writings. Right. Mm-hmm. And so when you have a guy like Wes finally get on a platform like Joe Rogan to kind of even dip your toe in that a little bit, you should realize that, there's a reason why there's academics that have been around and spent their whole career. And they're, it's like, if they're truly an academic, they would have, if they found all this stuff that led to the Bible not being accurate, or, the stories being this or that, or Jesus not being a real character or whatever, then academia would be kind of less than what it is now. Okay. But the fact is it's not. And there's reasons for that. And I think that's one of the big things that you see with a guy like Wes Huff, who's an area in this, he's telling you, hey, look, this is how we do things. This is it. And this is, this is how,
this is the game.
This is it. The guys, the guy's that nerdy guy with the parchment stuff. I mean, come on, man. Who does that?
Yeah.
Who sits there and takes their own papyrus
and writes parchment
and does a facsimile of a freaking fragment? I mean, that's crazy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, it was a good discussion. If you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend you do. I don't think Joe's like, Wes even asked him, like, where you at with all this Jesus stuff, and he's like, well, and he's still him hauling around. Yeah. And I think that's going to take, going to take a lot more.
But here's, I thought about this the other day, you, all right. So if everybody ever wonders, when I talk to Reggie, he inspires me to go down paths I've never gone down before. And on this journey I've been on of knowledge, what I've learned is when you look for deeper meaning, it opens up a lot of times spaces for broader concern. And with Joe, I think what Joe's got this life he wants where he's, smoking weed and, taking edibles and doing mushrooms and doing comedy and taking, whatever path he wants to take.
When he wants to.
But the problem is when you have to face, every Christian man has had to face this. When you decide to follow God, there's things you have to sacrifice. And some men will sacrifice them and some men will not.
Yeah.
And I think where Joe's at right now is the amount of things he would have to sacrifice are more than he's willing to give up. I think Joe knows the truth. I think if Joe were to do a historic study of the Bible, there's no way he could get around it. And I would say that probably Joe has a higher intellect than most. So I would say he's probably done some studying. But when you get to a point where you have to sacrifice all the things of the world that bring you pleasure, Song of Solomon, right? It's that human side of you can become very powerful. And I think that's where, you see that in Jordan Peterson because of the psychologist side of things. He's very attached to reason, right? To the point where he can't let go of it at times. And I think Joe is very attached to what the world has to offer him. He just got like another $20 million from Spotify or something crazy like that. Like he's living the dream life that he would live. So I just, I think Joe knows, like everybody else knows, but I think we all have to be ready to let all that stuff go. And our paths are all different, right? Well,
I thought about this a lot, right? Along this lines, right? So for me, right, even now, like I talked about before, I've had this medication or whatever the doc wanted me to try. It's led me to like not being able to sleep for like now 2 or 3 weeks. And like I had a day and several days now where I realized that there is so much it takes for me to keep myself in check. Mm-hmm. There's a lot that it takes for me to keep myself in check.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, let's say so the other day, I literally was in bed for 5 hours total. Slept maybe 3, couldn't get back to sleep, couldn't do this. So I just got up, right? Well, throughout that day though, I woke up mad. I stayed mad. I was irritated all day. And so what happens is for me, like it takes me, I don't have the, like, I'm not in the right headspace to like speak the way I want to speak to represent my own biblical manhood or being the biblical husband and father I want to be or whatever. I let things bother me that shouldn't. I say a bunch of crap I shouldn't. You know, I'm just. It's just
it
like
pulls
that.
you off your game.
Oh man, but I guess the realization is that how much it is that if you're that it doesn't take much for a guy to just lose a flipping mind for a day or two about things, right? And that's what I mean. Like the journey to pull yourself to that realm where that's what your norm is a long one.
Yeah.
So I mean, anybody like a Joe Rogan who would say like, okay, this is my lifestyle, this is what I got now, and you slowly realize that there's a truth here that it's not really about you. This is just the reality.
It's about sacrifice.
This is the reality of the universe that I'm going to live. When I die, I'm going to have to meet my maker and I'm going to have to go somewhere. Now you can have disagreements about hell and all this stuff, whatever. But at the same token though, there's a reality that this is the way it was meant to be. I can either choose to live in the reality of the way it was meant to be.
Yeah.
Or I can keep living a anti-reality kind of existence where I'm fighting against what it was supposed to be and see what happens.
Yeah.
Now, the wisdom is to say, okay, I know intelligence says this is the reality. This is kind of just, being a materialistic egomaniac. Yeah. So wisdom is saying, I know this is true. Therefore, I'm going to refuse that materialistic egomaniac kind of worldly perspective. And I'm going to actually use this, right?
Agreed.
And so, and then the wisdom, then even if that, so that's what takes a long time. And I think for people like Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan and stuff like that, to truly make that switch between worldly and godly is it's a slow process.
Yeah.
That has to go over time. And you need guys like Wes Huff out there to do that. But you also got to realize that we mortals of the layman
of the normal world,
we still have that same thing too. And it takes everyone, no matter who you are, a conscious effort to do that every single day.
Dude, I'll be honest with you, man. I've had this conversation with younger men than myself that'll be like, well, how do you keep yourself in check? I was like, you don't realize. I was like, I had to carve so many people out of my existence because they were not, regardless of my feelings for them, they were not there for the betterment of my soul, my spirit, or my salvation. So I had to say goodbye to them.
Yeah.
I don't hate them. I don't hold their lives against them. I love them and I hope they find it. But I mean, people go to the time, Brian, you must have quite a few people in your circle. No, I have like outside of my immediate family and my in-laws, I have like 3 people that have 100% of my trust. And outside of those 3 people, you don't have it.
Yeah.
And it's not a I don't trust you in the general sense of I think you're shady. You haven't earned it. You haven't shown up, right? You haven't given that part of yourself that makes me understand clearly that you have my best interests at heart and that I should have your best interests at heart, right? So there's this, we live in this society where everybody's worried about how many likes they're getting every day. Anything I post on Facebook, I could care less if anyone responds. Like most of the time, if I have got a quick thought that I have merit, I will post it on Facebook just so I have a record of it. I don't really care who reads it. I don't really care if they like it. I don't really care if they think I'm a great guy or a bad guy, But one thing I will always do that I think we're starting to see with Joe is I will always invite people into my existence that challenge me because I can't stay sharp and on my game if I'm never challenged. And a lot of times that'll be, well, this guy kind of annoys me and drives me crazy, but he seems very vehement about what he believes. I need to figure this out so I can figure out how he ticks. There's things that I do that challenge me, but yeah, there's a ton of sacrifice it takes to be a biblical man. And let's be clear, dude. Let's just honest. I'm gonna put my heart on the table. I fail constantly.
Yeah, we all do.
I fail constantly.
But this is part of what the whole. So this is kind of a different. I'm going down a sidetrack a little bit, but this is also why I disagree with the whole Catholicism way of like you go to confession and then your sins are forgiven, and then as soon as you make another sin, now you're in this unforgiven state, and you need to go back to confession in order to get in the unforgiven. To be all this whole state of being forgiven and unforgiven and all this stuff and how that impact. Okay, I have a big problem with that because most of us, if I were to go to confession, and it's like probably an hour later where I've already thought of something that would be considered a sin.
Yeah.
If an hour.
Yeah.
Right. And so how many people would that really be saved then if that were the truth, because that's ridiculous. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, and this isn't even for me about really Catholic or denominatory.
I just thought of that.
But my thing is why did Christ die? He died to wipe me clean, past, present, future.
Well, to be sanctified.
And
to be being sanctified at the same time.
And so if the ultimate sacrifice has already been made, and here we go, like I talked about last week, like this is why I'm really struggling with any denomination, period, because all of these man-made traditions are driving me crazy.
Yeah.
If the sacrifice has been made, and I know who my Savior is, and I ask for forgiveness, and I've been baptized, and I've done everything that's been asked of me, and I continue to praise him and bring him glory and thank him for the things that I have in my life, and then I don't need anybody to intercede for me.
No.
I have the thing that he wanted me to have, which is the Holy Spirit. So
yeah.
There's this, and again, there's this disconnect of, well, this person needs to intercede for you or that person needs to intercede for you. No, the intercession was made by Christ. That's all I needed.
And again, if you're human and you die, you no longer have a interaction with the human physical world.
Yeah.
That can't happen, by the way.
So I feel this very, it makes me feel sad for people who don't know their God and their Savior well enough to just say, yeah, I'm good, man. We're good. I'm going to sin, and then I'm going to pray and ask for forgiveness and continue to learn and grow. That's all you really need. You don't really need any tradition. And I say any tradition, Baptist, Pentecostal, whatever you want to call it. You just need God.
So on to another subject that I wanted to bring up today, because I saw it not too long ago. The amount of stuff the Amish has been doing in North Carolina and in Tennessee and stuff from the
from the hurricane.
Holy cow, man.
Yeah. Dude, good on them.
Entire Amish communities I shouldn't say entire, but dude,
huge Amish communities.
Large swaths of Amish have gone down there and built hundreds and hundreds
and dude, so great.
Oh man, it's so awesome. And let me tell you something I know the Amish get beat up a little bit because of something. And I'm not saying that they don't don't deserve a little bit of ridicule for some things they do.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
So do Christians and Baptists. So.
Yeah, I mean, come on. But you cannot deny their willingness to help when somebody really needs it. And that's seen in the Amish communities themselves too.
Mm.
So, I mean, where like you've got Biden saying, in Southern California, you'll get all the resources you want and all this kind of stuff. You haven't seen that for North Carolina or Tennessee.
Yeah.
You've seen very much a lack of that. And I know I'm not there. So look, that's just from a perspective of looking at.
That's just facts.
Well, maybe because I'm not there, man. I don't know.
That's just facts, man.
And you see the people who are going there and doing things, and it does seem that way.
Yeah.
But I'm not there, so I can't really factually say, this is absolutely what's going on. But what I do know is that this is kind of why I'm against the government welfare state as it is. If you were to like back that off, let people have more of their own freaking money to deal with and more of their own choices, who to like help or whatever, then it wouldn't be look, guys like me who would drop everything to go help someone would have far more resources to go help people, because the government can't do it. This is what this should tell you right here, people. The government is not a suitable substitute for your service or volunteerism or sacrificial giving.
No, it is not.
It's not. It does not work that way. It doesn't matter how hard they've tried with all their systems and all this stuff. It hasn't worked.
Well, just take a look at Social Security. What a Ponzi scheme. That was supposed to be for the welfare of Americans. It's not.
No. Anyway, so I just say hats off to the Amish communities, man, who've been doing that. I think it's just phenomenal how much they've done. And we're talking horse and buggy type of stuff here too. We're not talking like, excavators and stuff.
Maybe it's good. Maybe it's good that our government and other Americans see that regardless of the lack of modern resources, what determined good Christian people can do, right? Like to me, that's just nose to the grindstone determination, right? We're going to load up the buggy with our hammers and our wood and our family members, and we're going to ride this buggy down to North Carolina, and we're going to start giving people shelter because there are people out there that are homeless and freezing and scared. And to me, dude, good on you, right? And again, don't get me wrong. Amish have their thing. There's a lot of things about the Amish I don't understand, like Rumspringa and things like that really don't make a lot of sense.
Yep.
But, again, tradition is tradition. I don't live in that community. I choose to follow my biblical principles, and whatever's happening outside, the individual has to deal with, but you cannot deny the absolute fantastic thing that they've done.
And I mean, if you ever get a chance to go out to an Amish community and just like, cause I mean, I have to go out there every once in a while if I want to sell, cause I sell them my logs and stuff if I have some stuff, and to just watch them work.
Yeah.
It's not even, it's just a whole other level of stuff that you don't see very often.
One of the coolest things in the Amish community that I like is the father is the true head of the household.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
And if a family loses a father, another father steps up and absorbs that family to help lead that family. That is the ultimate ideal of what a man is, right? Like he's like, this man has passed and his family is falling. I need to step in and be a man and father to these people. They literally share and take care of everyone, whether it's food or money or resources. When you go, one of the coolest things I've ever seen is to watch them raise a barn.
Oh yeah. It's crazy.
Ain't no cranes. There's a 20, 30 strong backs out there working. Like that's some impressive stuff right there. Like beyond normality, that's impressive stuff, right?
It's pretty cool.
There's a lot we could take from them, right?
Yeah.
Like,
anyway, so I guess the message of the day has been a lot of different things, but we look, if you're on the fence about the actual academia of where the Bible is, I think the Wes Huffs of the world will set you straight a little bit on that kind of stuff. I think that I think we'll see a whirlwind of changes come rolling through politically when the inauguration is complete.
It is about 8 days away right now.
Yeah, I know. And it's crazy. So I would just say, and I don't think it's just going to be the U.S. I think there's going to be some global ramifications of some things that you'll see. Again, I think it's good to have some skepticism.
Yeah.
And keep a watch out, but anyway, so if you have any topic suggestions, send them our way via message, comment, or email via the media at randbtalks.com.
Yeah.
And we're like we said, we're still planning out some things, so we'll get some more finalized plans of future episodes. But until the next time, we are R&B Talks.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Wildfires.